Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. Ladies and gentlemen, on my channel, I'm always telling you guys, live an active lifestyle, make smart nutritional choices, right? Fight against the laziness, right? It's not about perfection, but about consistency, right? It's not about what you look like in the mirror, but about how you feel, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm always trying to give you guys little exercises and things that you can do that don't require a gym, don't require fancy equipment or, a lot of money, anything like that. And today I want to talk to you guys about dips. Now, you guys have probably seen my dip bars in other videos. I've demonstrated the L sit with the dip bars before. Like I said, so you probably have seen these in my videos before. But I don't believe I've gone over dips before. I may have in a video briefly. But I want to talk about dips and demonstrate dips. Now, I'm sure you guys, most people have heard of dips. Just like, pull-ups and push-ups and, squats, these body weight movements that we should master. I've told you guys on this channel, you really want to be able to master your body weight. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be, like they said, the strongest person or be able to do 1,000,000 pull-ups and a million push-ups or anything like that. No, but you should be able to move your body fairly efficiently, right? You should be able to go up the flights of stairs. You should be able to do push-ups and pull-ups. You should be able to do these things. Most people, they have a hard time doing these body weight exercises because unlike lifting traditional weights, lifting our body weight requires a little bit more, strength. It requires different kind of strength, right? Because we talked about lifting weights. So, for example, if you're deadlifting, and let's say you weigh 200 pounds, right? You weigh 200 pounds, and you're deadlifting 300 pounds. Now, that sounds pretty good to deadlift 300 pounds. That's a decent amount of weight, right? That's a good amount of strength for you to be able to deadlift 300 pounds. But you weigh 200 pounds. So really, how strong are you in comparison to your body weight, right? These are the kinds of things that we have to think about. That's why mastering our body weight is key. But not only mastering our body weight is key for our strength and, like I said, moving around, but when we talk about our body weight, mastering our body weight, that will also help us maintain a certain body weight. Because you'll notice right away if you regularly do pull-ups and push-ups and you're using your body weight as for exercise, step-ups and like I said, walking lunges, all requires nothing but just simple body weight. You'll notice the difference. So if you gain 5 pounds, you'll notice it right away, ladies and gentlemen, because all of a sudden you'll be heavier for you to pull up. It'll be harder for you to pull up. Your push-ups will become harder, right? All your body weight movements will become a little bit harder because you gained weight. So mastering your body weight, like I said, focusing on these kinds of exercises will allow you to maintain a certain body weight or for you to be conscious and aware when you do gain weight. Now, when we talk about the dips, I've heard people call the dips the squats for the upper body, right? I almost say a squat for the upper body. I've heard people say this. And dips are very useful, guys. They're hard to do, right? A lot of these body weight exercises are not easy to do. It's not easy for people to get down on their stomach and then push themselves up. That's not easy for a lot of people to do. So a lot of people rather go to the gym and lay on their back and push up on a bench press. It's different, right? You have the bench behind you, supporting you, and you're pushing up against that. When you're doing a push-up, guys, there's nothing supporting you. The only thing supporting you is yourself, right? You have to push up off the ground, all right? And you have to keep your entire body rigid to do this. So I told you guys, bench pressing is great, man. I'm not knocking bench press, but you should be mastering the push-ups first. There's no reason for people to be on the bench trying to bench press, as much weight as they can, trying to do 225 or 315 or, whatever it is on the bench press when they can't even do 20, 25 push-ups consecutively. And I told you, just because you can bench press a good amount of weight doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to do push-ups because it's a different kind of, force required. Like I said, it's a different kind of a workout, of exercise. Right? Like I said, you must brace yourself on these push-ups. And there are different variations of push-ups where you can make it more difficult for yourself. Guys, remember, in these bodyweight exercises, the cool thing about them is that there's many different variations of these bodyweight exercises. So like I just mentioned with push-ups, there's a bunch of different kinds of push-ups. There's Spider-Man push-ups, right? There's the clap push-ups. There's the feet elevated push-ups, right? There's different kinds of push-ups that we can do. The diamond push-ups, right? Where your hands are closer and you can have your hands further apart. Different kinds of ways to exercise to make it difficult, to make it easier, right? You can do pushes on your knees to make it easier. Same thing with pull-ups, right? You can do regular pull-ups. You can do chin-ups, will make it a little bit easier, right? But you can do pull-ups and have weight hanging from your waist, right? Or, get one of those belts and have the weights hanging. There's different ways. You can do explosive pull-ups where you pull up and you release from the bar and you catch yourself, right? There's different ways that you can do these pull-ups. different hand placements, right? For all of this stuff, guys, it works differently. So with the dips, same kind of thing. All right, there's different ways you can do the dips, right? Like I said, you can do weighted dips. You can do dips, for reps. You can do dips where you're doing a tempo, where you're going down slow, and then you're pausing at the bottom, and then pushing up. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to do 2 regular dips, man, all right? Nothing crazy about this. Like I said, a standard dip that a lot of people don't do, that a lot of people can't do, all right? Like I said, they don't try these things because they're difficult. They don't want to do them because they're hard, and I get that. So when we're doing the dips, you don't need anything fancy like this. These are dip bars. Like I said, I got these off Amazon, guys. They were cheap, man. It was nothing. I told you, nothing that I have is expensive. I don't have any fancy equipment like that. There's nothing here that I told you that is going to break your bank or you're like, oh, I can't afford something like this, guys. So none of this stuff is expensive. Like I said, but you don't need anything like this. You can get 2 chairs. At the school that I work at, I would get 2 chairs oftentimes in the mornings when I got a little downtime. And I would get 2 chairs and I would put them back to backs, right? And I get space in between them and I would dip that in between the chairs. So you don't need fancy bars. You just need something, 2 sturdy platforms that you can fit in between, that you can go down into, okay, guys? And that's how we're going to do the dips, all right? So I'm going to show you guys how we do it, and then we'll talk about it, all right? So we're going to come down, and then we're just going to push ourselves straight up. That's really what we want to think about, right? Nice brace, keep everything tight, coming down, and then pushing up, right? Driving down and driving up. All right, that's what we want to think about. We want to try to keep our body one straight line, right? Nice and rigid. When we're doing pull-ups and we're doing dips, we want to keep our bodies rigid, all right? We want to be able to keep, like I said, I tell you guys all the time, your body works in synergy, right? Everything works together. Everything's connected. That's why I say isolation is stupid. It doesn't make any sense because that's not how the human body was made to move. And the key to fitness and health is movement. We want to be able to move. It don't matter how strong you are if you can't move, ladies and gentlemen. So movement is the key here. So when we're doing these dips, we want to keep our body rigid, all right? Everything tight, bracing everything, looking straight ahead, coming down, right? You want to kind of make a 90-degree angle here, right? You don't want to do a half rep or, something like this. That's not really dip. You want to come down, nice 90-degree angle, even lower, and then explode, push up, right? How many do you do? Depends. What your strength level is, what your fitness level is. But just to incorporate these into your routine, the dips, I would say start off with a little bit of a small amount of reps, maybe 5. If you want to work your way up to do sets of 10 or sets of 7. Like I said, however you're doing to do it, it could be part of a circuit you're doing. So maybe you're doing this in conjunction with other exercises, right? A good thing to do would be to do this as a pushing exercise, right? This is a pushing movement, right? You're using a pushing muscles, right? You're pushing. So you can think about doing this where you're pushing, right? You do some reps of this, and then you go and maybe you get a rock or something, you get something heavy, right? And you do a farmer's carry after that. So now you're using your pulling muscles, right? So you did a push, now you're using your pulling muscles. And then after that, you can go into maybe a walking lunge or a step up or a body weight squat or, something like that for your lower body. To me, that would be a great circuit right there, incorporating something like the dips into your workouts. So like I said, guys, the dips work. They're effective. Like I said, I've heard them being called the squats for the upper body. People avoid doing bodyweight exercises because they're difficult. Don't avoid using the bodyweight exercises. Like I mentioned, doing and mastering these bodyweight exercises will help you maintain a certain body weight, guys. And that will help you really move. And movement's the key. Like I said, being able to move our bodies is the key. When we're talking about staying fit, especially as we get older in life, guys. So think about incorporating some dips. Remember, it doesn't mean anything fancy like that, or fancy dip bars or anything like that, guys. But think about incorporating dips into your workout routine.